Morning breaks over the city as reporters gather anxiously outside the towering headquarters of Rexton Media. Whispers ripple through the crowd. Is the head of Rexton Media here? Is it true Mr. Zhou is secretly dating an employee? Does he really get a new girlfriend every month? Inside a sleek car approaching the building, a woman drives calmly despite the storm outside. Few moments ago, her phone lights up with emergency messages from the company. At the office, employees pace anxiously, whispering about the trouble. But when Zhang Ying approaches, they straighten instantly. Miss Zhang? One calls nervously. She doesn't answer. She simply takes a look at the screen, locks the phone, and says in her cool, steady voice, "I'll handle it." Even when she reaches the hotel and security is losing control, her steps remain measured. Her expression stays serene. "Where is Mr. Zhou?" she asks calmly. She was Yvonne Zhang, PR department manager of Rexton Media. "He's inside the room," the assistant answered anxiously. She knocks. A flustered woman opens the door. "Are you from the PR department?" The woman stammers. But Yvonne doesn't react to the panic. She walks past her with steady composure. Inside, Rowan Zhou, CEO of Rexton Media and the second son of the Zhou family, steps out of the bathroom, water still trailing down his skin, wrapped in a towel. He smirked seeing Yvonne. "They send you, huh?" Yvonne meets his eyes without the slightest change in expression. "This is your scandal, Mr. Zhou. No one else wants to take responsibility for such a delicate matter." Behind her, the assistant freezes. There is a quiet, unspoken understanding between the two, calm, balanced, a mysterious harmony. Because beneath their composed facades, they are newlyweds who secretly married 3 months ago. Rowan lights a cigarette. "Go back," he says lazily. "Let someone else handle it." But Yvonne turned towards the girl, who looked desperate, looking for a chance to stay in the spotlight. Yvonne recognizes her instantly. This girl, recently yelled at by a famous director's wife for meddling in their relationship, looks like she still hasn't learned. Her scheme is written plainly across her nervous smile. She wants to use Rowan for a bigger break. Yvonne doesn't waste time on her. The filming location is nearby, she informs the girl coolly. "Your agent will pick you up. Any other questions?" The woman tries one last attempt, but then she looks at Rowan. He's sitting there, openly peeking at his wife, a hint of amusement in his eyes. When he grins, the girl immediately understands there's no chance left for her to cling on to him. So she turns and leaves the room. Yvonne turns back to Rowan. "Mr. Zhou," she says calmly, "could you go to the next room now? Li Zong and the others are waiting for you." "So you planned all this?" Rowan asks lazily, staring at her. "Yes, but you only have 5 minutes." Her tone does not waver. "In 5 minutes, hotel security will start letting the reporters up." Rowan studies her for a moment, his eyes softening, before he stands. "Okay," he murmurs, a small smile tugging at his lips. "See you later." Soon after, her phone rings. "Grandpa," she answers. The old man's voice is firm and cold. "Yvonne, bring Rowan back to see me in half an hour." Yvonne's calm expression shifts just slightly, only a flicker of concern. Listening to Grandpa Zhou's tone, he must already know what his grandson did today. As she waits for Rowan, the door suddenly opens. Startled, Yvonne looks back. "What are you looking at?" the man asks playfully. But the longer she looks at him, the more fragments of that hot night surface. The way he rubbed her lips, the way she clung to him as he kept calling her name again and again. Yvonne quickly tries to push the memory away and turns her gaze forward. "If you're done here," she says, steadying her voice, "let's go back to the mansion." She starts the engine. On the way to the mansion, Yvonne's phone rang. It was a voice message from her friend, suggesting that if her needs aren't being met because Rowan is always messing around with girls, she could find Yvonne a stud man instead. Rowan smirked the moment he heard the suggestion, while Yvonne immediately swiped the message away, not wanting him to hear more. As soon as they arrived and stepped out of the car, Rowan leaned in from behind, whispering into her ear, "Yvonne, if you really have such needs, you could tell me directly, you know." His voice was playful and flirtatious. Yvonne turned back, her expression calm. "No, I don't," she replied, then walked ahead. Rowan watched her with a small smile playing on his lips. He loved teasing her, knowing she wasn't going to give in easily, but he still intended to keep trying. They entered the mansion, the newlywed couple who still had to play their roles, even if in reality they were not attached to each other. As they walked further inside, something suddenly flew toward them. Rowan swiftly grabbed Yvonne's hand, pulling her behind him to protect her. Water from a teacup splashed onto his chest, soaking his white shirt, but his grip on Yvonne's hand only tightened. It was old man Henry Zhou. "You brat, you messed around again. Just days ago it was some model, and today you even got caught at the hotel. Can't you just let me stop worrying?" The old man glared. Rowan lazily brushed his wet shirt. "How have I worried you? Didn't I just sign that foreign contract for you yesterday?" Since that was true, the old man had no comeback. "You're not a child anymore, so watch yourself and stop getting involved in these scandals," he scolded. Then he turned to Yvonne. "You did a good job." Yvonne bowed slightly. "Thank you, grandfather. Neither of you are young anymore," he continued. "So don't focus only on your careers. Try to focus on family so I can see my grandchild next year. Yvonne nodded and went into the kitchen. The old man then turned to his grandson. Again. Tell me honestly, what do you think of Yvonne? He asked seriously. If you don't like her then, just pay her off and go separate ways. I've known her my whole life, but you keep— Rowan lazily picked up a grape. Grandpa, which do you prefer, a boy or a girl? Instantly the old man brightened. You've finally come around. You're going to have a child with Yvonne, he said happily. Rowan bit into his grape. Yeah, sure. A while later, when Yvonne returned, she paused. Just moments ago the air had been stiff with tension, but now the room was filled with laughter, as if everything had suddenly settled. But that was Rowan Zhou's specialty. He was a crowd pleaser, whether it was men, women, children, or the elderly. At night, the Zhou family sat together for dinner. Mrs. Zhou affectionately picked up the healthy items from the plate and placed them into Rowan's bowl, gently urging him to eat better. From the side, her daughter complained, Mom, you always play favorites. Then she turned to her older brother with a smile. Isn't Rowan always been your favorite? Her brother nodded, smiling too. Rowan silently sipped his soup. He knew very well this was all an act. Henry Zhou, the old man, had only one son, Julian Zhou. But Julian had 3 children, Yannick, Rowan, and the youngest, Kelly. Yannick and Kelly were born to the current Mrs. Zhou, while Rowan was the child of Julian and his childhood friend. Everything that appeared peaceful at this table was just a facade. Everyone understood clearly. There could only be one heir to the Rexton group. Rowan quietly picked up the healthy items from his bowl and placed them into Yvonne's plate instead, startling her. It's your favorite, he said with a smile. After dinner, Yvonne gathered the dishes. Kelly approached her. Yvonne Jiang, can you slice an orange for me? She asked. Sure, Yvonne said. But Rowan, who was busy on a call, suddenly turned around. Yvonne Jiang? He repeated, raising a brow at Kelly. Kelly froze, embarrassed. It just slipped out. I was used to it for so many years, she said quickly, making an excuse. Then she tugged Yvonne's hand with a sweet, practiced smile. I'm sorry, sister-in-law. It's fine, Yvonne replied. Seeing that his sister corrected herself, Rowan returned to his call. A while later, after he finished, his gaze drifted toward his wife, who was quietly washing the dishes. He walked over to her and gently brushed her hair behind her ear, making her flinch at the unexpected touch. Grandpa is asking us to stay for the night, he said. What do you think? Yvonne kept her eyes on the dishes. If you say so, she replied, focused on her work. The man leaned in closer, mischief curling his lips. Don't worry, I'll sleep on the couch if you want, he whispered. Yvonne stepped back, putting distance between them. Don't do that, she said. What? Are you scared? He asked playfully. Yvonne turned fully to face him. It's Rexton Media's anniversary next month. Please don't start scandals until then, she advised genuinely. The man smiled. Well, that's going to be difficult. Yvonne sighed. Do whatever you want, she said, brushing past him. Rowan watched his wife walk away, then turned to the maid. Don't let her do housework from now on, he ordered. The maid hesitated, but she insisted. Rowan's gaze darkened. If she does it again, why don't you pack your things and leave, he said sharply. As Rowan turned to leave, Yannick approached him with 2 glasses of wine. I can see you're taking care of Yvonne, he commented. Rowan took a glass from his brother's hand. Don't you know better than anyone why we got married? He asked lazily. Yannick stammered. Brother, it was all a misunderstanding. Mother didn't know that Yvonne wouldn't be able to handle alcohol and ended up in your room. Rowan took a slow sip of wine. You and your mother, aren't you both so kind? He said with a smirk. Yannick forced a smile. Rowan walked past him. Aren't you worried that I'll take your place? He asked casually. Don't worry, Rowan added with a smile. I definitely will. He left Yannick behind, gripping the wine glass tightly. Also, please be less two-faced around me, Rowan advised before leaving. The smile on Yannick's face vanished completely. Rowan returned to his room, removed his coat, and sat on the chair, exhausted. Then he heard the sound of water splashing in the bathroom and turned toward the door. Inside, Yvonne had just finished bathing when she suddenly remembered she'd forgotten to bring her clothes in her rush. With a sigh, she knocked softly. Rowan, are you there? I forgot to bring my clothes. Can you please get them for me? She asked. But there was silence. No response. Carefully, she peeked out and saw the man lying lazily on the chair, eyes closed, seemingly asleep. Yvonne sighed. She had no choice. She'd have to get them herself. She walked past him quietly, slipped into the wardrobe, and pulled out her nightgown. As she headed back, she suddenly flinched, feeling someone's gaze on her. She turned quickly. She wasn't wrong. The man was sitting upright, fully awake, studying her with a playful smile. Yvonne felt her anger rise, but she needed to change first. With a sharp bang, she shut the bathroom door. A moment later, she stepped out and glared at him. You were awake? Then why didn't you answer when I called you? She demanded. Rowan made an innocent, thoughtful face. Oh, did you call? He asked. Yvonne knew arguing with him was useless. She silently lay down on her side of the bed. Rowan followed, but soon his phone rang. Hey, are you coming out or not? A woman's voice demanded. Rowan glanced at Yvonne's back. She was already asleep, facing away from him. I can't. I'm at the mansion with my wife, he replied. There was a moment of silence, then the call disconnected with a beep. A few seconds later, Yvonne's phone rang. She calmly picked it up. It was the same woman, Leah. Juan, Rowan's childhood friend. If not for that one drunken mishap, she would have been Rowan's wife now. Miss Zhang, you did this on purpose, didn't you? Leah snapped. You knew today was my birthday, so you dragged Rowan to the mansion. Send him out now. Yvonne sighed. Sorry, I can't, she replied. Before Leah could unleash more anger, Rowan took the phone. Don't be unreasonable, he said calmly. But it's my birthday, Leah argued. Rowan looked at his wife, then answered simply, then happy birthday. As their conversation continued, Yvonne stepped out of the room, feeling uncomfortable. While she was drinking water, Yannick appeared behind her. Yvonne, why are you still up? He called out. From upstairs, Rowan, having finished his call, came out and saw Yvonne standing with Yannick. I was just thirsty, Yvonne replied calmly. Yannick smiled. Did you have a fight with Rowan? You know you can tell me if you did. Thanks, Yannick, but it's late. We should go to bed, Yvonne said, walking past him. They had once been close, but she was married now. Even if the marriage began with a drunken accident, she still needed to keep her distance. When Yvonne returned to the room, she found Rowan sitting on the sofa, lazily playing on his phone. She didn't disturb him, and lay down on her side of the bed again. After a while, Rowan turned toward her. The woman sleeping peacefully was now his wife. Yet she always felt just out of reach. The next day, when Yvonne reached the office, she heard a group of girls gossiping about Rowan. One girl pitied the woman who would end up marrying him, while another insisted it wasn't such a bad deal. After all, the man was usually out of everyone's league. They flinched when they realized Yvonne had heard them, but she had no intention of meddling. Carry on, she said calmly before walking into her office. The girls sighed in relief, whispering how Yvonne was nice yet intimidating, and how out of all the students the Zhou family had sponsored, she was the only one who had stayed with the company. Inside, Yvonne called Mr. Zhou regarding the annual bash proposal, but he informed her he was with Rowan. Yvonne suggested she would come after lunch, but then she heard Rowan whisper from the background. Tell her to come. I can sit in on the discussion. With no other choice, Yvonne went. Rowan leaned back lazily. Carry on. Don't worry about me, he said. Mr. Zhou still looked uncomfortable discussing work with Rowan Zhou present, but Rowan only smirked. Why are you looking at me? Miss Zhang is talking to you, he added. Finally, they began reviewing the proposals. When Yvonne slightly bent over the table to point out specific details, her coat shifted, revealing a glimpse of her slender back. Rowan watched her from behind, eyes fixed on her the entire time. Yvonne suggested several changes to this year's bash. Mr. Zhou hesitated. This isn't as simple as you make it. And you know Miss Guan is Rexton Media's star guest, he explained. But the issue must be fixed. Colors affect the overall camera perspective. You can switch Leah Guan if necessary, Yvonne insisted, not backing down. Mr. Zhao's face paled. Leah was known as Rowan's rumored girlfriend and the future owner of Rexton Media. He couldn't act carelessly. He silently glanced at Rowan, asking for permission, without words. Rowan simply smiled. Why are you asking me? Just do as Miss Zhang says. Mr. Zhou was stunned but nodded quickly and left. When Yvonne returned to her office, she received a call from Sylvie, her best friend. Are you in the office? And what's up with Rowan? Sylvie asked. Not wanting to argue about him, Yvonne changed the subject. Are you back from the business trip? She asked. Sylvie yawned. Yeah, just woke up. What are you doing tonight? Let's meet up and get drunk. My treat. Wanting to see her friend, Yvonne left the office and headed to the bar. But just as she parked, another car bumped into hers. Before she could even react, Leah came knocking aggressively on her window. Yvonne immediately knew this wouldn't be an easy conversation. Are you the one who switched me? How dare you? Leah shouted furiously. Yvonne, calm as ever, replied, Miss Guan, I know what you think of me, but let me be clear. I never mix business with personal affairs. Leah clenched her teeth. She hated Yvonne. But before she could say more, another man stepped between them. Benji Chang, an actor and another of Yvonne's best friends. Oh, I was wondering who it could be, Leah scoffed. Benji and Leah were rivals, always fighting like children. Now, with Benji standing there, Leah knew she couldn't touch Yvonne. You just wait, this isn't over, Leah snapped before leaving. Yvonne answered calmly. Of course, you owe me 10 grand in repairs. Remember to wire the money later. Benji burst into laughter. Does your man know about that sharp tongue of yours? He teased. Why? He doesn't have the right to know, Yvonne replied, walking into the bar. Behind her came Rowan and his friends, who happened to hear her last sentence. One of Rowan's friends nudged him. Ro, do you have the right to know? With a cigarette between his lips, Rowan smirked. Of course I have every right, he said before heading inside. Inside the bar, Yvonne and Benji took their seats while waiting for Sylvie. She arrived a moment later, downed a full glass of water, and complained, I should have checked the roads before coming. I got stuck in traffic. It's okay, Benji said. We just wasted our time bumping into Leah outside. Sylvie turned to Yvonne immediately. Was she causing trouble? She asked with concern. Isn't she always? Yvonne replied, sipping her drink. Sylvie's anger flared. She grabbed the bottle and started walking out. Benji quickly caught her hand. Where are you going? He asked. To teach her a lesson, Sylvie snapped, trying to free her hand. As they argued, Yvonne called out casually, Benji, let her go. I like it when she fights for me. Besides, it's just Leah. Her 4 bodyguards are there to handle her. Yvonne smiled, and Sylvie, understanding what she meant, sat back down. Already giving up? Yvonne teased. Well, I'm saving my stamina for our next encounter, Sylvie said, pouting. The 3 friends chatted happily afterward, enjoying their time together. Later, Yvonne received a call from the office. She stepped outside to answer. An artist was in trouble. His ex had exposed their chat history and wanted the company to release a legal notice and a public announcement. Yvonne advised him to stay calm and wait for the storm to die down before ending the call. Just as she finished, a bar employee rushed over. Miss, your friend started a fight in Mr. Zhou's room, he said, half laughing. Yvonne rushed there immediately. Inside, Sylvie was shouting at the top of her lungs while Benji struggled to pull her back. Stop hiding behind a married man. It's despicable, Sylvie yelled. In front of her stood Leah, hiding behind Rowan's back. Hey, stop! Yvonne is here, Benji said, trying to calm her down. The moment Sylvie saw Yvonne, she slid to her side quietly, standing still. Sorry, she whispered. From behind, one of Rowan's friends asked, Are they your friends, Vaughn? Yes, they are, Yvonne replied confidently. Behind Rowan, Leah peeked out and muttered, They're all crazy. Yvonne turned to her. Well, that's true, she replied calmly. Leah's expression stiffened as she glanced sharply at Rowan. She wanted to see whose side he would take, his wife's or hers. Rowan just stood there, a sharp smile playing on his lips as he watched Yvonne. Sensing the tension, Benji pulled Sylvie's arm. We're leaving, Yvonne. After they left, Yvonne turned to Rowan and Leah. She calmly picked up a bottle. Sorry for ruining your party. And for the apology, she said. Then she lifted the bottle and finished all its contents in one swift motion. Rowan bit his lower lip as he watched her. He didn't want her apology. At least not like that. Yvonne left shortly after, and Rowan sat still. Aren't you going after her? His friend asked. Why should I? Rowan replied lazily. Well, don't regret it later, his friend warned. But Rowan Zhou wasn't going to regret anything, because just a few minutes later he received a call from his wife. Are you still there? Yvonne asked. Well, leaving soon. Want to meet me or what? He said, voice flirtatious. Yes, Yvonne answered. The simple word made him flinch. He hadn't expected it so soon. But then he smirked. Skywater residence. 30 minutes, he said before standing up. Where are you going? His friends asked. Home. The missus is asking, Rowan replied, grabbing his jacket. From the side, Leah's face darkened. So in the end, he chose to go to his wife. Yvonne reached Skywater residence, but the place was dark. As she turned to switch the light on, someone grabbed her wrists, pinning them above her head. It was her husband, Rowan. Aren't you in such a hurry? He asked, tilting his head. Worried I'd hurt your friend? Yvonne sighed. He wasn't wrong. She knew him since childhood. She knew exactly how petty he could be. None of this surprised her. So she answered calmly, Rowan? Sylvie didn't mean that. Oh, really? The man raised an eyebrow from above. His grip was tight, making Yvonne uncomfortable. So she explained quickly. She just wanted to get back at Leah for rear-ending me outside the bar. But Rowan had long gone deaf to her explanations. His grip only tightened around her waist. Rowan, she murmured. He smiled. Why not call me Ro? Everyone close to me calls me that. Yvonne frowned. Are you drunk? He didn't answer, he just stared at her. After a moment, his head dropped onto her shoulder with a quiet sigh. Yvonne froze. His warm breath on her bare skin sent chills racing down her spine. Rowan slowly lifted her chin, brushing his lips along her neck. A soft sound escaped her, the air between them turning heavy and hot. But then his phone rang. The spell broke. Yvonne pushed him back lightly, regaining her senses, while Rowan turned to take the call. She switched on the lights and messaged Sylvie, reassuring her and Benji that she would handle Rowan so they didn't need to worry. Messing with Rowan. Please be safe, Benji texted. Sylvie apologized. I'm sorry, Yvonne. I lost control. But Rowan is scary. I hope he won't use this to force you into that. The message made Yvonne laugh softly at how worried they both were. From behind, Rowan leaned in again. That? He repeated, his voice low and teasing. Care to give it a try? Nope, Yvonne said. Not interested? He asked. No, not interested, she replied firmly. Well, you never know until you try, Rowan said with confidence, but she had already tried. The memory of that night flashed in her mind. She turned to him and answered plainly, Well, we already tried it. I remember it as clear as day. And I'm giving you 0. Her words crushed Rowan Zhou's confidence. Or so she hoped. It was the only weapon she had against him, break his pride before he breaks her calm. But Rowan only smiled, giving his comeback effortlessly. I'm surprised you remember it so well. It's been 3 months. I thought you'd forgotten. This time, Yvonne said nothing. There was no winning against this man in words. Sometimes, silence really was golden. Later, Yvonne busied herself preparing dinner. But she still needed to talk to Rowan. After gathering her courage, she called softly, "Rowan." "Is this about Sylvie?" the man asked immediately. She nodded. "Don't worry," he said. "Since you're my wife, I can show you that much respect." Yvonne let out a quiet sigh. Finally, that matter was settled. When dinner was ready, they sat to eat. This time, Rowan broke the silence. "Still in love with Yannick?" he asked suddenly. Yvonne choked mid-bite. Rowan laughed. "Well, that's quite the reaction." "I'm not," Yvonne said firmly. "And be sure of one thing. I never did you dirty and never will. I'll turn a blind eye to anything you do. Just give me 3 years. When my contract with the company expires, I'll resign and divorce you." Rowan frowned. He had never asked for divorce. Misunderstanding his expression, Yvonne added calmly, "And don't worry, I won't ask for a single cent from you." Rowan smirked, leaning forward on the table. "And what do I get? That still makes me a divorce." "So, what exactly are you offering in this marriage deal?" Yvonne rubbed her forehead. "I said I would always turn a blind eye to anything you do. What else do you want?" Instead of answering, Rowan gestured for her to come closer. As Yvonne leaned in, he reached out and grabbed the back of her head, pulling her forward until their foreheads touched. He looked straight into her eyes. "Vaughn, are you taking me for another Yannick?" he murmured. "Flirting with you while keeping things platonic?" Yvonne frowned. Why was he bringing up Yannick again and again today? Then Rowan suddenly leaned to her ear and whispered, "You think I don't know you're using me as a distraction to investigate my family?" Yvonne flinched. How did he know? Rowan laughed at her expression. "Calm down, Vaughn. You won't get far if you get startled that easily." "When did you find out?" Yvonne asked quietly. "Probably when you jumped on me," Rowan answered with a smile. Yvonne had thought her plan was running smoothly. She had underestimated this man. Rowan leaned back, sitting upright again. "Don't worry, though. I'm not interested in that." Yvonne frowned. "You're not worried I might hurt your family's interests?" He shrugged casually. "What's it got to do with me?" Yvonne stared at him, even more confused. Who exactly was Rowan Zhou? When she first met him years ago, he had been a kind, mild-mannered boy. Now he had become a cold man, distant from his own family, like he wasn't one of them at all. Rowan moved to her side, leaned down and whispered, "Vaughn, you know I still miss you from that night, so why not? I'll keep your secret, and you come back to me like that night." His voice made his desire unmistakable. Yvonne sighed. "Are you trying to get into my pants?" "Well, some people say I just want our marriage to blossom," Rowan replied smoothly. Yvonne stood up, turning her back to him. "You don't need to keep it secret. Tell it to Grandpa if you want. And thanks for Sylvie's matter. I owe you for that." She began to leave but paused at the doorway. "Rowan Zhou," she called out, "try to be a better man." Rowan only smiled. What does being a good man ever get him? On the other side, Yvonne's mind kept circling one thought. Rowan Zhou now knew her secret. Where had she slipped? Either way, she needed to slow things down. She pulled out her phone. "Stop investigation for now," she typed and sent the message. The next morning, when Yvonne woke up, her assistant informed her that the male artist had made a public announcement, causing a massive uproar online. Yvonne rubbed her temples in frustration. Why did everyone here insist on creating trouble? As soon as she reached the office, the talent manager appeared, dragging the male artist behind him. "What should we do now, Miss Jiang?" he asked anxiously. Yvonne calmly slipped off her gloves. Leak the news that Rowan Zhou had a secret date with Liu Guan last night. Sometimes she needed to fight fire with fire. The manager's face turned pale. Is it really okay to let Mr. Zhou take the fall, if he finds out? But Yvonne didn't hesitate for even a moment. He's been caught in so many scandals already. One more won't matter. I simply gave you the solution. Now it's up to you to carry it out. "Thank you, Miss Jiang," the male artist said awkwardly. And so, the news spread. Rowan Zhou's secret date with Liu Guan. It diverted attention long enough for them to counterattack the male artist's ex. Soon, an article exposed how she had framed him, and how she was actually the one who cheated first. When the male artist saw it, he felt relieved. He turned to his manager hopefully. "Does Miss Jiang have a boyfriend?" The manager frowned. "She's a total workaholic, the company's famous ice queen. I doubt she does." Elsewhere, Rowan's assistant presented the leaked news to him. "Mr. Zhou, Miss Jiang only wanted to clear the artist's name," he whispered. Rowan raised a brow, a wicked smile tugging his lips. "By using my scandal?" he asked with a smirk. The manager rushed in, panicked. "Mr. Zhou, since Miss Guan is removed from the guest list and the other stars are busy, what should we do?" "Why are you asking me?" Rowan replied lazily. "Ask Miss Jiang. Isn't she the one coming up with brilliant solutions?" So the manager went to Yvonne again. "Give me 3 days. I'll arrange someone," she said. After the manager left, Nora, Yvonne's assistant, spoke up. Miss Jiang, why are you helping him? It's his job to manage the talent. Has Mr. Emmett transferred to Ascot? Yvonne asked. Book a flight. At the airport, Rowan's assistant showed him Leah's vague tweet, posted after the date controversy, "My love for you is a secret that must not be named." She was clearly trying to use the scandal to make the rumor more dramatic. His assistant glanced worriedly at Yvonne across the terminal. Should we ask her manager to take it down? If the missus sees it, she might misunderstand. Rowan looked up, surprised to see Yvonne here, but he only smiled. Do you really think she cares? Zachary still didn't understand how these two ended up married. He remembered that morning at the hotel. He had gone there to bring what Rowan ordered, and saw Yvonne practically cursing him for what happened that night. Yet somehow she still ended up marrying him. As the flight took off, Yvonne also saw Leah's tweet. There was no doubt it was aimed at Rowan, and although she believed she didn't care, she unconsciously bit her lower lip in frustration. When they arrived and exited the airport, Nora spotted Rowan. "Oh, Mr. Zhou is here too. Should we greet him?" she asked excitedly. But Yvonne replied coldly, "I don't see anyone. Let's head to the hotel." After they arrived, they decided to meet Mr. Emmett the next day, and then separated to rest. Yvonne sat in her hotel room, reviewing her notes. She had found out that Mr. Emmett went golfing every Friday. That was her only chance to approach him. After a while, the doorbell rang. Thinking it was Nora, she opened the door, but it was her husband. Seeing her frozen in place, Rowan asked, "Are you not going to let me in?" Yvonne hurriedly glanced down the hallway. His assistant wasn't with him, meaning she had no way to send this man away. She stepped aside and let him in. Rowan sat lazily beside her, leaning toward her screen. "What are you reading? Going to invite Emmett?" he asked, peeking. "Yeah," she replied shortly. His arm slid around her shoulder, his fingers lazily poking at her. Yvonne noticed it and turned to him. "Do you have a lot of free time?" "I guess," he replied lazily. Yvonne sighed and went back to her work. "I heard Yannick won 2 major contracts. Your grandfather was overjoyed," she said. "What? Worried I'll lose his favor?" Rowan asked sarcastically. She nodded calmly. "Why not? We're married after all. Win or lose, it's both of us together." The man beside her froze for a second. Yvonne rarely mentioned anything about their marriage. Hearing her speak like an actual wife brought an unexpected smile to his face. "I let Yannick win those proposals on purpose," Rowan added casually. "You set him up?" Yvonne asked, surprised. "What? Does your heart ache for him?" he teased with a smirk. "No," she shook her head. "I'm actually curious." Rowan leaned closer. "What do you like about him?" Yvonne stared at him quietly for a moment, then asked, "Since we're on that topic, what do you like about Leah Guan?" She clearly hadn't forgotten Leah's dramatic tweet. Rowan shrugged. "Well, she's bold, so maybe—" Her boldness. Yvonne turned back to her screen. "Then I like Yannick because of his reserved personality," she replied calmly. "And besides, he was the person who helped me back then when I needed it most. When he found out about my situation, he would quietly slip money into my bag." As Yvonne explained, Rowan's hand on her shoulder trembled slightly. "So that's when you fell in love with him?" he asked in a low voice. "Yes," she answered honestly. "But what if it wasn't him?" Rowan asked quietly. "Besides him, no one in your family would have helped me," she said calmly. Rowan looked at her for a long moment, then slowly withdrew his hand. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "I guess that's true." On Friday, Yvonne arrived at the golf club as planned. Mr. Emmett usually came in the afternoon, her only chance to approach him. She needed to seize it. When she took a shot, a warm voice praised her from behind. "Nice shot." She turned to see the elderly actor, Emmett Lee. "Not as good as you," Yvonne replied politely. He chuckled and offered to play a few rounds together. She accepted. She needed his favor after all. They were already on their 3rd round when Rowan appeared, rolling up his sleeves as he strolled over with a lazy smirk. "You didn't tell me there'd be such a pretty face here," he said to Emmett, teasing. Emmett rolled his eyes. "Don't hit on her, Rowan. I just asked the young lady to play a few rounds with me." Rowan turned to Yvonne. "Then how about a few rounds with me?" he asked playfully. Yvonne sighed. She desperately needed Emmett Lee's cooperation. Displeasing Rowan, his friend, wasn't an option. So she nodded. Rowan leaned in from behind and whispered, "Beat me, and I'll talk to Emmett for you." "Really?" Yvonne asked, eyes lighting up. "Well, have I ever lied to you?" Rowan shrugged, then added shamelessly, "Oh, except that one time, when I said I'd stop but didn't, remember? In my bed. He was impossible." Yvonne forced herself to ignore him and focus on her game. If she could just beat Rowan Zhou here, her mission would be complete. But Rowan stepped closer and closer, disrupting her focus with every breath he took near her. She couldn't snap at him, not with Emmett around. In the end, despite her best efforts, she lost. So did her hope of getting Rowan's help, and to make matters worse, Leah Guan arrived not long after, chatting happily with Rowan and Emmett. Yvonne's task became even more difficult. The old man introduced her to Leah. but Leah's expression immediately brightened with malicious interest. "So, you're really working hard to get me replaced, aren't you?" she said sweetly. "You know her?" Emmett asked, surprised. "Yes, she's the PR manager of Rexton Media," Leah revealed. Emmett frowned at Rowan. "You don't even recognize your own employee?" Yvonne quickly introduced herself. Nice to meet you, Mr. Lee. I'm sorry to approach you like this, but I would like to invite you to be a guest at our annual bash." Emmett waved the idea away. "I'm too old for that. Get someone younger." Then he walked off with Rowan and Leah. Nora hurried to Yvonne's side. "Miss Zhang, what should we do now?" "Let's follow him. Or, if you're not used to this, go back to the hotel," Yvonne said calmly. Inside the restaurant, Emmett, Rowan, and Leah sat down for dinner. Leah peeked out the window with amusement. Aren't they dedicated? Not afraid of the cold at all. Outside in the snowy wind, Yvonne and Nora waited patiently, hoping for another chance to speak with Emmett Lee. From the table, Rowan frowned. Why was she so stubborn? Why did she have to go this far? Wasn't it easier to just ask him? But Yvonne Zhang would never do that. It's taking so long. Are they doing this on purpose? Nora shivered. Yvonne wrapped her scarf around her. We're the ones who need a favor. It's normal for him to be demanding, she said, smiling softly despite the cold. A moment later, a waiter approached with ginger soup. "It's from that gentleman," she said, pointing at Emmett. Nora brightened. "Well, Miss Zhang, you were right." Soon, Emmett and the others stepped out of the restaurant. Yvonne approached him. "Thank you for the soup, Mr. Lee." Emmett blinked in confusion. He hadn't sent it, but answered politely, "You're welcome." Yvonne bowed slightly. "I apologize again. I know I'm being intrusive, but could you please reconsider?" This time, Emmett Lee smiled. "You're stubborn, but interesting. Most people can't handle criticism," he said, accepting her invitation. Behind him, Leah's face darkened. She'd been counting on Emmett rejecting Yvonne, expecting Yvonne to beg her for help, but the opposite happened. On the way back, Emmett leaned toward Rowan. "You sent them the soup, didn't you?" he asked. Rowan didn't answer, he just smiled, which was answer enough. Emmett sighed. "But that lady is a tough nut. You might choke, my friend." Rowan looked out the window, eyes lingering in the direction where Yvonne had been standing earlier. "Well, I already had a taste," he murmured. Emmett looked at him, surprised, then smirked. "But I can see that she's not into you," he added bluntly. The comment pierced Rowan's iron confidence. Annoyed, he shot back, "And I can see why you don't have many friends in showbiz." Emmett chuckled as he got off the car. Rowan leaned back with a sigh. From the front, Zachary asked, "Where to now, Mr. Zhou?" "Take Miss Guan to the airport," Rowan replied quietly. Leah frowned. "Hey, I'm not going anywhere. She hadn't come here to leave, like this." Rowan raised a brow. "Then what? Do you really like following a married man everywhere? If my marriage gets exposed, you will be the one who suffers." Leah clenched her jaw in frustration. "Can't you just divorce her?" Rowan folded his arms and answered with a single word. No, he had never intended to let go of Yvonne Zhang. Not from the day he became her husband. On the other side, Nora and Yvonne, who had been standing in the freezing cold for so long, were finally resting in the warm hotel room. But Nora still trembled. "I hope we don't catch a cold," Nora murmured worriedly. Just then the doorbell rang. Thinking her hot food had arrived, Nora rushed to the door, but instead of a delivery bag, a very tall, very attractive man stood there. "Where's Vaughn?" Rowan asked sharply. "She's inside," Nora said, stepping aside to let him in. He walked straight to Yvonne and pressed his hand to her forehead. "Have you had dinner?" he asked. "No, not hungry." "What do you want?" Yvonne replied, trying to dodge his touch. "Even if you're not hungry, eat something." "Zachary will bring food soon," he said firmly. "Oh, and I'm also staying here tonight. I don't have a room." Yvonne choked on the water she was drinking. Nora's jaw dropped hearing that he intended to stay here, but quickly recovering, she decided to leave them alone and darted to her own room. "I'll get you another room," Yvonne said. "I'm staying here," Rowan answered, completely determined. Yvonne stood up, setting her glass aside. "What do you want?" she asked tiredly. Rowan removed his coat, sat on the sofa, and still didn't answer. Yvonne sighed. She was exhausted. "Can we talk about this?" she said softly, stepping in front of him. Rowan lifted his hand, wrapped it around her waist, and pulled her into his lap. She fell against him, grabbing his shoulder to steady herself. "Why not?" he said. "Let's talk." Yvonne inhaled, steadying herself. "Are you trying to stop me from hurting your family?" she asked quietly. "Why do you think that?" Rowan replied. "Because you've been stalking me ever since you told me you knew my secret," she explained. His eyebrow lifted, amused. "And you really think I'm watching you out of concern for my family? Isn't that the case?" Yvonne asked. "Vaughn, I told you, whatever you're doing against them, it's none of my business." Yvonne frowned. "Then why do you—" She paused. "Well," Rowan cut in, a playful smile forming, "I just want to sleep with you." Yvonne blinked, her surprise sharp and immediate. "Are you crazy?" she asked. Rowan held her gaze. "I am. So, shall we go crazy together tonight?" Her mind involuntarily returned to that night. She had to admit, he didn't hurt her. If anything, it was good. Too good. Rowan tightened his grip on her waist. "Don't hold back, Yvonne," he murmured, sensing her thoughts. Her hands tightened on his shirt. "I just don't want things to get complicated," she whispered. Rowan pulled her closer from behind, fingers gently caressing her cheek as he closed the distance between them. "It won't," he breathed. "I promise you that, Yvonne." And that's a wrap. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this and want to be part of our growing community, hit join to support the channel. Take care and see you soon.